Hey everybody, good afternoon. And this week, week 3, we're going to talk about your speaking project. Now, if you remember, you're going to get 20 marks for a speaking project. So, what's our speaking project about? Well, we're here at Podisan, and I'm going to show you what our speaking project is about. Right behind me. You know this sign. You see that sign every morning. And see what's behind me now? That's what we're going to focus on. Those 9 characteristics and what they say are desirable characteristics for you as students and the student quality in a world-class standard school. So what do those mean? We'll talk more about it in a little bit. Okay?
Okay, everybody. So here we go with part 2. Now you've just seen our sign that's downstairs that we see every morning during assembly, and we're going to get back to that. But we should talk about what I expect on the speaking project from you. So now you see, our speaking project's always going to center around a topic that should be important to you as citizens of Thailand, and also meant to stimulate you to think about things that maybe you wouldn't normally think about, and that you probably should. So while we are going to discuss the sign, let me give you an idea of the type of things we are going to talk about for your speaking projects. Okay. Very often our speaking projects will include videos and or articles. And what you see here on the screen is an example of the type of topic that we are going to, let's use the football term, tackle in our speaking projects. So the question is, what would you have to do? Well, what I want you to do is I want you to be able to discuss the topic that we use for our speaking project and talk about your opinion on it, what you think about it, the effects that this particular topic might have on you as an individual, our school, in Thailand as a country. So what are you going to be doing? Well, as you see in front of us, and I'm sure all of you know about this, you see the headline, Government Online English Lesson Ridiculed for Multiple Errors. Hopefully I won't be making any errors. But more importantly this is the type of topic that we're going to talk about for your speaking projects, what I expect you to. Now, of course, we'll relate this to the sign at the end, but for now, let's talk about this. Why would this be a speaking topic? Because this is really important, because one, it centers around education. And one of the things that we're going to talk about later is that what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to demonstrate not only your ability to use English, there was an error, and and not only use your English, but use it in a logical fashion and be able to demonstrate what some people call critical thinking skills. And that would mean be able to look at the topic and discuss it in great detail. So we're not going to go over this topic, but I have this on here for you as an example again. So what would be the issue here is that, okay, one, the online, you want to look at what's the main issue. The main issue here is the online teaching, what we're doing right now. Now we're doing it in a very different platform. This was the government platform that is being used amongst other schools, but we're doing our own thing. So what I would want you to discuss is, one question is like, why did this happen? okay? Because the best example I can give you is this. Of course, this particular incident has generated a lot of discussion amongst teachers, especially foreign teachers like myself. And yeah, we've discussed it in our office as well. And the general consensus is that I'll tell you without getting into analyzing this article right now, is that it's not the teacher's fault. And what we've discussed with teachers on, Facebook forums, in Facebook, for example, there's a group called Teachers Teaching in Thailand on Facebook. And of course, this popped up on there. And it generated so much discussion, and some people wrongly criticizing her, and then other people, myself included, defending her and breaking it down and saying, well, one, why did she do it? And the general conclusion is that, because she was told that's your job, so do it. But what people are saying, and this is the type of thing I would want you to try to do yourself when you're discussing whatever topic we are doing on our speaking project, is that, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Could it have been prevented? You need to look at the issue and look at the layers, break it down in all of its parts, and then to be able to discuss it. And then at the end, come to your own conclusion, your own opinion. The most important thing to remember about these speaking projects is that there's no wrong answer, okay? I've said this to a lot of you before, and what I'm saying now is going to be new to you, and you're going to hear it again, is there are no wrong answers for these things. And that's probably the best part about it, maybe. So, when people were discussing this particular topic, it was people like myself said, well, one, why was she doing it? Two, what was wrong with what she did? And three, the conclusion being that it came down to quality control. And this means that obviously she's made the video like I'm making the video for you now. And somebody had to watch that video, and somebody had to say, okay, yeah, we will run that video. And somebody had to say, hey, yeah, this is good. We'll use this. And the general consensus is it's probably should not have been used. So the question is why did it get used? And the deeper question is what does everything that was wrong with it say about education in general, about how things are planned out, and other issues that I won't get into because that's not the point of this video. The point of the video is to just give you a small example of what I'm hoping that you're gonna do, and I'm sure you're gonna do well, is to look at a topic and be able to discuss it and on different levels and different ways, and give your opinion or a conclusion on that topic. Okay? So I won't go into it anymore. I do hope that you guys have actually discussed this particular topic amongst yourselves, because it affects you and potentially could affect your children if you choose to have children. And if any of you become teachers, which I hope some of you will also. So again, this is sample topic. See right here, there's the video for it. And everybody's watched it. And you can see some of the comments that are here. I became a person who hates learning English because of teachers like these. Erroneous teaching really has an effect on kids. Now that was from a Thai person who spoke English. So for example, maybe you want to use a quote from the story to back up your point, or to say, use it as an example as what's wrong. This particular article is not too long. But it's probably worth reading, and I'm sure there's many other articles on it. Side note, this is from, you see the website, CalSat English, which is on Facebook. I suggest that all of you add that onto your Facebook, because it's a good way for you to improve your English by the more you read, the more you listen, the more you see, the better your English is going to get. And this is a pretty good site. Anyway, it's one of a few English sites that would be worth your time. Okay, so let's move on to what we are going to do. Okay, so we'll do that right now. Okay, guys, so here we go with the next part for our speaking project discussion. And here's what we're going to be talking about, what you're going to be talking about. So every morning at assembly, you stand there and you listen to everybody on stage, and there's that sign. And talks about vision. And you see, it says, the desirable characteristics. And here's what you're going to do right now. I want you to translate these words from Thai into English. Very simple, should be pretty easy for you. Shouldn't take you more than a couple of minutes. So what I want you to do is create a document and write down what these words are in English. Then after you're done with that, we're going to come back here and we're going to discuss those 9 terms. And then after that, we're going to discuss the last 5, where it's the student qualities in a world-class standard school. But we're going to start with this first. I just want you to translate, and then we'll talk more after that. Okay? Okay. So here we are back for part 3. Now, I'm sure you found those translations very easy, but what I want to discuss now is the literal translations for them. Of course, I had help translating the terms myself, and then I've gone over what are the answers for the translations, and we're going to discuss them, and then I'm going to tell you what I want you to do with those terms, okay, in relation to the speaking project. So you see, we have it up here on the screen for you. And so the first part 1, the first 9 terms, we're talking about what are desirable characteristics. Now, desirable meaning something that you want, something that's needed for somebody, okay? So number 1 is love of nation, religion, and the royal family. Now, before, in one of the articles that you read, we talked about the term nationalism, which I'm throwing under love of nation, okay? Now if you do recall that the definition of nationalism they were talking about, you can take it too far, but that doesn't apply here. So what the school is saying, and I want you to tell me what you think the school is saying as well, is that one of the first desirable characteristics for you as a student is the love of nation. So you see the definition again, a feeling of loving your country very much and of being very proud of it, a feeling that your country is better than any other. That's, of course, where the definition gets tricky. As I told you before, Americans are fond of saying, America, love it or leave it, which, well, as I said before, obviously I left it. So here we are. So we can throw this under nationalism, but I think it's not quite that extreme, and it's just very literal, that you love Thailand, that you're proud to be Thai. And this is part of one of 3 parts of number 1, okay? The second one religion. Okay? Now, religion is the belief in the existence of a god or gods and the activities that are connected with the worship of them or in the teachings of a spiritual leader. Well, an interesting part about religion as it relates to you, to this sign, to our speaking project, is that Thailand is, my understanding, 95% Buddhist. And I think the rest, basically about 4% Muslim and 1% other. So when they're talking about that, that's a desirable characteristic, that you have love of religion, that that seems natural to be that way. Our school is connected to Wat Po, right next door. And we often share activities with them and do many things related. There's many school holidays related to religion. Many more here than you would find in the United States. In fact, the United States is just the opposite. There are no holidays related to religion unless you include Christmas, which technically is supposed to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, but it's just turned into shopping season. But anyway, maybe not. Anyway, so you heard a little bit of my opinion of that. So they're saying this is the second part of the first desirable characteristic for you, that you should love religion, be Buddhist. And there are reasons for that, I'm sure, and that could be part, or should be part, of what you discuss in your speaking project. And the third one, the love of the royal family. Now, example, you see my shirt. Shirt I always wear on Monday. And many people do. When I first came to Thailand, and the first time I was here on a Monday, and I walked outside of my hotel, and I've told this story before to a few people, and I walked out and everybody was wearing a yellow shirt. And I thought, what's going on? Why is everybody doing this? And it made me feel really strange and out of place because I wasn't wearing a yellow shirt and everybody else was. And I had no idea. And it was the exact same thing at 6 o'clock when I was walking down the street and the national anthem came on, tied into nationalism and love of the royal family. And everybody just stopped walking like they were a robot and wouldn't move. And I was really going, what's going on? You know, it was, you know, I kept walking and then I figured it out and I stopped, but I had no idea why I was stopping. Of course, later on when I moved here, I found out both things. So, but why, you know, I'm a foreigner, why would I wear this shirt? Well, I wear it out of respect for the royal family and for Thai culture. And you see that, you know, a monarchy, being a royal, is something that's connected with or belonging to the king or queen of a country. Now, there are many other countries in the world that have the monarchy. And this is viewed as a very important part of one of your desirable characteristics, the love for the royal family. And it definitely looks like that is true for everybody here. So, and that's a good thing. So let's move on to number 2. Number 2, which I translated as honesty, okay? Always telling the truth and never stealing or cheating. Well, that's the hope. So hopefully you won't copy your friend's homework, because that might be considered cheating. But I know you guys won't do that, right? Wink, wink. But this is the second quality that they want to have in you. Now, obviously, the most of the reason is probably related academically, especially when it comes to cheating. Because if you're supposed to demonstrate that you have true knowledge about a subject, then you shouldn't cheat. Ideally, a test or anything like that is measuring what you know. Now you can debate that for sure, but that's the idea. So this is the second quality they want to see in you. Number three is disciplined, right? The adjective, but there's also discipline as a noun and a verb. And there's two important things to understand about within the definition of discipline. One, the practice of training people to obey rules and orders and punishing them if they do not. The controlled behavior or situation that is the result of this training. Meaning, if you don't turn in your homework late and I give you a 0, the discipline is the 0 that you get. And ideally, what this is supposed to do is make you not do it again. So the rule is turn in your homework in time. The punishment, if you don't, is a 0. Now, of course, you're always welcome to come and say, oh, teacher, please don't. Oh, teacher, please don't. And I know you will. And that's okay. We'll discuss that later. But the second part of the definition, a method of training your mind or body or of controlling your behavior, an area of activity where this is necessary. Now that's slightly different. You know, the first example would be like what I gave. Another one would be like spanking. Like if you spanked your child, that would be a type of discipline. Now, the second definition of this, what they're saying is that you're a good student. That time where, you know, your friend calls you on Friday and says, hey, let's go to the mall, hang out at the mall, go eat and go watch a movie and go hang out and talk till, you know, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. And you decide that, well, you have a test on Monday and you're going to study for another 4 hours instead of go out and hang out with your friends. That's a way of showing discipline. You're disciplining yourself. Okay. So discipline is a way of being rigid, following your own rules, right? Not deviating, going away from what you're trying to do, from your goal. Your goal is to get a good grade. So the way to do that is to study as much as possible and not get away from that, lose your focus, let's say it that way. So this is another important part of being a good student. Number 4, eager to learn. Well, eager is defined as very interested and excited by something that is going to happen or something you want to do. By showing it is eagerness. Eager is an adjective. Eagerness is the noun. So basically, it's very simple. It comes down to, hey, I want to learn. And of course, all of your teachers, especially me, really hope this is true. I mean, you have to come here, so make the best of it, right? So just your desire, asking questions, you know, coming to class on time, listening, finishing your work, but more about really wanting to learn. Students always talk about, I want knowledge. And that's what being eager to learn is, saying that I really want to acquire this knowledge from you and doing what is necessary to do that. Number 5, live with a sufficiency economy. Well, this is an economic policy, and we all know, and I know that you've all studied this exclusively and probably a lot since a very young age. It's the economic policy, you know, put forth by the Roman 9. And I think Thailand seems to follow this a lot based on what little I know. But they believe that this is another important part for you. Which takes us to number 6, determined at work. I changed the word, I added the word diligent. And diligent meaning having made a definite decision to do something and not letting anyone prevent you from doing it. Okay. Determined meaning nobody is going to stop me. Same thing, you see that they can relate to being eager to learn and discipline. There's sort of a combination of those things, if you'd like to look at it that way. It just means you're gonna do what's necessary. You're gonna continue and not stop, not be distracted by your phone or anything else. So next next one is very interesting. Number 7, behavior. Well, it said Thai behavior, I believe the translation was. And so what I've done for you is define behavior. So behavior, the noun, behave, the verb, is the way that somebody behaves, especially towards other people. Now, you see what we've written down there is that what makes it different from other behavior? What I mean is this. We define behavior, but here it says Thai behavior. So what I want you to think about is, how is Thai behavior different from other behavior? I want you to be able to talk about, well, what does that mean? What does Thai behavior mean as opposed to other types of behavior? Okay, we'll come back to that. But put that in the back of your mind as you're thinking about, everything that we're going to talk about later. That there appears to be a difference based on what's in the sign. So I'm definitely going to want you to tell me what is the difference and what does that mean. And the last two, number 8, volunteer. Okay, this is a verb in action, meaning you can volunteer for something. And if you do that, you are a volunteer, which is the noun. Now, I've written 2 things here. 1, a person who does a job without being paid for it. It's a very exact, literal definition. But I think the other thing they're aiming for when they use the word volunteer is the second part that we have, which is a person who offers to do something without being forced to do it. Okay. The pay is like, so let's say something happened at the Watt next door and there was some damage done to it, maybe during a storm or something. And all of you guys say, hey, we're going to go to the Watt and help them rebuild and remove the trash, and just do that, decide to do that. And they say, we need your help, but you're not going to get paid. But you're taking it a step farther and just doing it on your own without even being asked by the Watt or the school. Okay. So you can probably relate this to the idea of charity, right? Charity means, has many different meanings. But charity meaning, to give to be selfless, to give. And number 9, world citizens. A citizen is defined as a person who lives in a particular place. So yeah, you're a citizen. You could even think of yourself as a citizen of Thailand. Well, not just Thailand, but Podisan. You're a citizen of Podisan. So that gives you certain responsibilities, but we're talking about taking those responsibilities farther and wider, not just at Podisan. You start at Podisan. First you start at your home, then you're a citizen of your school, then you become a citizen of a wider community, usually when you go to university or acquire a job. But they're talking about a world citizen. What's the place that you live in? Well, the whole world. So the question is, what do they mean by that? Okay? So here's what I want you to do. Now that you've translated it into English and we've discussed the meanings, what I want you to do is create a document. And I want you to tell me what your definition is of these terms. And I want you to also write down why you think each of these terms is necessary or important in order for you to be a good student. Okay? I think you can take about 30 minutes to do that. Okay? And then we're going to do the second part of the sign. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to break it down. And then I'm going to want you to do the same thing you're going to do here. So again, look at those terms in English, and then write down 1, why they're important, and 2, how you define them. Talk about how you define them first. To me, being determined is blah, blah, blah. And then the second part is talking about why those things are important. Okay? So why don't you get to that, and then we'll finish up. Okay, everybody, so you've finished with the first part, and now let's move on to the second part. The second part of the sign talked about qualities of the school, or what I believe qualities. The first part was the qualities that you should have as an individual, and the second part is the qualities you should have once you finish your education at Kodi-san. So let's see if our translations match up, and then you're going to do the same thing you did with the first 9 qualities for you as an individual. So number 1, academically excellent. Okay, excellent means extremely good. So I think this one's very literal. They want to see you at the end of school, have good grades, have a good GPA, have learned something. And there's many different reasons why this might be important, but it's going to be up to you to discuss that in greater detail for me in your speaking project. The second one, being able to communicate. I believe what's implied there is to be bilingual. Communication is to share or exchange information, new ideas, feelings, etc. Bilingual, by Greek for 2, lingual language, 2 languages, be able to speak 2 languages. English and Thai, or maybe Chinese, or maybe Japanese, or French. But we know the focus for the most part is English. So when you finish M6, ideally, you're going to be proficient in a second language. And they feel this is important. Number 3, advanced thinking. I would dare say this is something I mentioned before, what we would call critical thinking. Again, being able to break something down large into its smaller parts. It'd be like, being a doctor and knowing what works inside of you and how it works and why it's important. Thinking is to have a particular idea or opinion about something or somebody, to believe something. And this is where, at least for our speaking projects, what's going to be the most important is your ability to express your own opinion. More importantly, maybe, is that you have an opinion and be able to express it well. There's a lot we can talk about there, but we're going to save that for the classroom in July. Number 4, creative innovation. Creative being involving the use of skill and the imagination to produce something new or a work of art. Now, I'm glad that's not only about art, because I'm no artist, but innovation is a noun, innovate is a verb. The introduction of new things, ideas, or ways of doing something. Probably the biggest innovation in the last 20, 30 years, and one that seems to be the center of the universe now. That was quite an innovation, right? So to be creative in bringing up something new, they want you to be able to do that. And the last one, number 5, be responsible to world society. Well, responsible is having the job or duty of doing something or taking care of something, so that you may be blamed if something goes wrong. Well, that's going to make you run away from responsibility, right? Well, hopefully not. You should actually want responsibility. But that's my opinion. Maybe yours is different. So they're saying that seems to have a direct correlation to the 9th point for the first 9, being a world citizen. So they're saying be a world citizen and also be responsible for what goes on in the world. That means, I would say that's an important one, because it seems very often that people are only concerned with what goes on in their own country, and they don't think about their place. The expression is their place in the world, and it seems like they're trying to tell you to be aware of your place in the world. I personally think that's a good one. That's a very important one, because human beings are often quite selfish, and you don't want that, right? Part of being volunteer is not being selfish. Many of the other things, being diligent, helping, not cheating, being honest. That's because dishonesty is probably, some people might define dishonesty as selfishness, because why are you going to be dishonest about something? Probably because you want to get something, and you think that would be the best way to get it. And what would you want it for yourself? So something to think about. So again, with these 5, I want you to do the same thing you did with the first 9. I want you to say what your definition is, and then I want you to say why you think these are important. Or if you even want to, you could say why you think they're not important. But what I'm going to do is the last thing you're going to read after you finish with this and turn this in is you're going to read the document I create that's going to lay out everything that I want you to do in relation to everything we've just talked about for your speaking project that will be due July 2nd. Okay, it'll be due July 2nd. And it's going to be in a video format. Now that could change, because I'm thinking the way we're doing everything online and everything that's going on, maybe doing a video will be more difficult for you. But I'm going to think on that. But for now, just be prepared for that. Read the speaking project rules and expectations that are going to follow this video, the last thing for this week's lesson. Okay, so get to work and turn everything in as soon as you can. Okay, bye-bye.